Evolutions is the all-new game mode for EAFC, and in today's video we're going to be explaining absolutely everything whilst also sharing ways in which you can exploit this. But before we do get into the video, if you want to push yourself way ahead of every other player, then there is no better place than U4GM. U4GM is already offering cheap, fast and reliable EAFC coins so that you can spend less time grinding and more time building the team that you want to build and also opening packs. Simply use the link in the description down below, select how many coins you want and the platform you play on, and at checkout also use Fanatic to get yourself a 5% discount. Link to everything can be found in the description down below. Thank you U4GM for sponsoring today's video. Evolutions is the new game mode, but it's not a new concept. We've actually gone through this before, especially if you've been playing previous Ultimate Teams. In previous Ultimate Teams, such as FIFA 23, you would upgrade players through your objectives. There will be challenges and you would then need to complete a challenge in order for you to be rewarded with a player. And for you to get an upgraded version of that player, you would then need to complete challenges with that player and then eventually upgrade. But the thing is, every single time that you did this, you would have the same player, it's just a separate card. If you completed all challenges, you would have 3, 4, 5 cards of the same player, it's just upgraded from 81, 83, 85, 87 and so on, depending their overall rating. Evolutions follows this concept, but now it's all applied to one single card and the card itself upgrades. If you head over to the main FIFA menu, head over to your club, and beside your club you will be able to see evolutions. Inside there you'll be able to find several challenges every single season, and this will continue to update. As there are separate challenges, not every single player will be eligible for an evolution. You can't just start taking Mbappe's, Messi's, Haaland's and just throwing them into evolutions, upgrading all of them to be 99 rated. Each of these challenges will be aimed at different requirements. It might focus more on wingers, where you would need to find a winger with a certain amount of pace, a certain amount of physicality, certain amount of dribbling in order for them to be eligible. And it may not even include their base stats, it could honestly be anything. It could be their overall height, it could be their position, it could be their weak foot, their work rate, their skill moves. And with this all being part of these challenges, these are all aspects that can also be upgraded. Because once you do find a player who fits these requirements, you can activate the evolution for that player, and that's when you need to complete the challenges. The challenges themselves, at the minute, aren't anything too crazy. Playing a few games within division rivals, scoring a few goals, getting some assists can also be done within squad battles with a minimum difficulty of semi-pro. It's pretty easy stuff so far, but let's also highlight that this still is the beginning of EAFC, and chances are these challenges will increase in the type of skill that will be required, as well as so will the ratings for the types of players that will be eligible for the challenge itself. It's also worth highlighting that there is a cost associated with this. Now, for most of the challenges that are available, they are free for you to enter. As long as you have a player that fits the requirements, you can activate the evolution and you'll be able to go into your squad battle matches, your division rival matches, your foot champion matches, whatever it may be, and you can start upgrading that player. However, there is also some challenges which are going to be a bit more advanced in terms of that they're going to increase the overall rating substantially more than others, boosting your player's overall skills, making them a much more desirable player, and with that, there's a cost associated with it. An option for you to spend coins or FC points. This will be shown up front on the task and challenge itself before you activate any of the players. But at the same time, this may be something that you definitely want to go and do, because this is also where you're going to see the biggest and best upgrades. Now, let's actually get to the point of exploiting this type of feature, because there are certainly quite a few options. The first one is easier said than done, but it's definitely worth taking the time and trying to be strategic with this, because what you can do is really start to boost some pretty decent players, or even take someone that isn't that good but then make them amazing. There's a few factors that you need to count into this when trying to be strategic. Firstly, you need to understand the types of players that are available and also the requirements that are there for the evolutions. Because you may have a good player that you want to upgrade, but if there's not a challenge where they can fit into the evolutions, then of course you can't upgrade them. This is surface level stuff. The next level to this is that you also want to make sure that you're selecting players that already fit the meta of Ultimate Team. Now, it's still early and I'm not the best player ever, but we can all start to see certain mechanics popping up which seem to be quite overpowered. Now, that doesn't mean to say that they're always going to be overpowered, because we will have a patch fairly soon. But this is stuff that you need to take into consideration. The other thing that you need to take into consideration is that you can upgrade a player who's already gone through evolutions and then upgrade them again. There will be occasions with this, and there will certainly be some overlap, where if you apply upgrades going through certain challenges before others, you can then use them for subsequent challenges. Now, depending when you watch this video, there may be different challenges available. But as I'm going through this on the release, I'm just going to highlight that you can upgrade quite a few different players in different positions, but there is one challenge where it will only take players who have already got an evolution to then boost them a bit further, but those players cannot be higher than 80 rated. Now, I made the mistake of just playing about, just trying to give this a try, and I took just one random bronze player and upgraded them to be an 80 rated player, and then realized that I can then upgrade this 80 rated player into a second evolution. But if I was way more strategic and took a bit more time, I could actually select a player within a league who still was a bronze player at 64 rated, play a few games in squad battles or division rivals, upgrade them to be 80 rated, and then put them into the second evolution to boost them even further, making them a player which is much more usable within a main team. And that's also not taken into consideration that I could have then also had further evolutions with future seasons based on the challenges that EA release. That one is much harder to predict. Now, what we've gone through is just going through the evolution side itself, upgrading players and then using players for your main team. But the other side to this is that these players are players. You own them, they are untradeable. But there's another game mode which you can also use them for. This is, of course, squad builder challenges, the SBCs. SBCs will release, and as of right now, there hasn't been anything too crazy in terms of it requiring evolution players. But we could very well see some SBCs in the future which require evolution players. But on the other hand, there will also be SBCs where you could just submit evolution players just because of their overall rating, or they fit well within the team itself. This opens up many doors in terms of how you can also be strategic with SBCs, not just evolution players, but the SBCs themselves. We get many squad builder challenges every single year where the demand for it outweighs the supply. People start buying up players, and a lot of players end up becoming extinct, or they double in price and become overpriced for most players. The barrier to entry becomes a lot higher. And this typically happens for players where there is just a very small supply of them. Maybe you can only use one player in one position because they give the chemistry, and it's the best way in which you can also get the rating. Now, there is a guaranteed chance at some point this year that there will be an SBC where that happens, but if you've been smart with the players that you've selected to upgrade, you could potentially use them. Or maybe it's the case that there is an evolution challenge at the exact same time that an SBC releases that you can use a specific type of player to upgrade to then go and use for that SBC. This is where game modes start to overlap, and if done correctly, they can be very profitable even though you are using more or less an untradeable player. The last thing to mention is that it's definitely worth paying attention and joining various communities to see what other players are doing. If you make the mistake like I did, which was just trial and error, just playing about, trying to learn things myself, you'll go into submit players which probably are not going to be worth it. But if you pay attention to the community, see what other people are doing, you can start to get an idea of some of the most overpowered players that you can go and use for these upgrades, ensuring that you're always playing with the best of the best. Speaking of which, if you enjoyed this video, then I highly recommend clicking the next video on screen. That video goes through the ultimate beginner's guide and gives you a step-by-step playthrough of what you need to do at the beginning of Ultimate Team. So click that video and I'll be over there to guide you through absolutely everything. I hope you enjoy.